Alright, so welcome to Dungeons and Thrashers episode 4. Miss Wellby, the halfling thief, has just entered the dragon chamber and she just drew her first dragon card, which is a sleeping dragon card, which means that she can draw 2 treasure cards from the deck. Now, if you're playing with the basic fantasy rule set, which is the whole point of this series, if you find an item, a magic item, such as the Sun Spear here, for example, you could easily just try to make a magical item with the basic fantasy rules that translates into that. So, for example, the Sun Spear could be a magical spear +1, and with the Flames of Command special ability, for example. Or once you exit the dungeon, you could just sell it for gold and then exchange the gold for XP. So just to speed things up, Miss Wellby did get out of the dungeon and it's time for her to level up now. I follow the 1 gold for 1 XP rule. It's clean, simple and efficient. But I do follow the rules as written, basic fantasy, that you can only level up 1 level per adventure. And for me, what constitutes an adventure in Dungeon Quest is entering the dungeon and exiting with some treasure. That's one adventure, so you can't just, enter and exit and then, hey, that was an adventure. Not for me anyways. So, as you can see here, as a thief you need 1250 XP to get to level 2, and then you get new hit points and you get to raise your thieving skill percentage. So right now I'm exchanging my gold here, my treasure, for 4 experience points, and I will go to level 2, which means that I get to roll a d4 to add to my maximum hit points, because I'm a thief, so I'm rolling a d4 and I rolled a 1, of course. And my constitution is just 6, so I do get a -1 on that roll, but you always get at least 1, so at least I get up to 4 hit points. Woo! And of course I also get to raise my thieving skills percentage a little bit, so that's cool. Alright, obviously what I just showed you was a very light on role-playing games version of this sort of fusion between board game and tabletop role-playing game. The first thing you can think about when it comes to expanding the gameplay is obviously playing more than 1 character yourself, or it doesn't have to be a solo game. You can play with your friends, you can play 1 character each. There's a lot to do here, and obviously you can ramp up the difficulty by rolling on a higher level of random encounter monsters, or you could use the actual numbers appearing, which I didn't do when Miss Wellby encountered a wolf. It was just 1 wolf. It wasn't like 2d6 wolves. She would have to run in that case. But so you can use the monster reaction table if it's neutral. Like if it's a wolf, perhaps maybe you could roll on the monster reaction table. You could use the unstable potion card. You could just roll on the basic fantasy random potion table. I just translated into a healing potion just because it's easy and it's, it's very useful. And so like I said, the version I just showed you is very light. But you can use rules, like I said, for evasion and pursuit, those 2d6 wolves I talked about, monster morale, things like that. It's actually a very versatile system, and what's almost the most not important, but the most interesting thing is when you exit the dungeon. Like I said, I always assume that the town surrounding the dungeon is like a medium-sized sort of fantasy town, so you've got everything you need. So I assume there would be an inn, Encounters Guild, like a Wizard's Tower for like magical research and stuff, and don't forget to hire an alchemist as well if you're doing magical research. There's a bank, you know, and you could, I mean, it's up to you. I do 5%, you know, 5% interest. Yeah, you know, would be a chapel for healing and resurrections, things like that. Yeah, I mean, I guess when you get to higher levels, you can hire, you know, retainers, mercenaries, and all those kinds of people to accompany you into the dungeon. Especially if you're playing solo, obviously this is a good idea. This is all available, like all of the rules for all of this is in the Basic Fantasy book, which I have printed. But it's a very cheap book if you want to order it from Amazon, but if you want to download and print it like I've done, you know, that's also okay because it is a free product. But yeah, you can hire retainers, mercenaries, you know, specialists. Like I said, I talked about that alchemist for magical research. There's so much you can do here. Once you get to like super high levels, you also get strongholds, and then you get followers. You know, you have like a couple of d6 worths of you know, swordsmen and you know, bowmen, or clerics and what have you, and you can all just sort of invade the whole dungeon and just wipe out everything in the dungeon at super high levels. So I don't know, I feel there's a lot of potential here, and very versatile system, and like I said, it's easy to, if you want to use Dungeons and Dragons instead, you know, or RuneQuest or any other fantasy RPG, you know, that would be fine. It's just that I really feel that Basic Fantasy is the right tabletop system for doing this kind of play. So yeah, so my final thoughts, kick ass. So if you do have a copy of Dungeon Quest lying around, just, you know, download and print the rules of Basic Fantasy, or order the books from, or the book, I should say. There are more than one, but yeah, from Amazon. I think it's on Lulu maybe. Anyways, yeah, so, and a little tip from my Swedish friends. Kom ihåg att Dungeon Quest är egentligen bara Drakborgen på engelska. Så om du vill ha en riktig svensk upplevelse så kan du ju använda Drakborgen och Drakar och Demoner och så kombinera de två till exempel. Anyways, so yeah, I'll see you guys next time in Dungeons and Thrashers.